Welcome to Pink Ribbon Roller Coaster. I'm
Hi.
here today with Sally Cable, who's one of our leadership team members, and I'm Jane Wilson, CFO for Project 31. We're going to chat with Sally today about her breast cancer diagnosis and kind of her experience and her journey and sort of what led her to Project 31. So, Sally,
Okay.
introduce yourself. Tell us.
Okay.
I know you were a teacher, so tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about your
Yeah.
life and then
Okay.
kind of your breast cancer journey.
Okay. Yeah, I'm Sally Cable, and I am a retired teacher. Actually, retired 8 years ago,
Wow.
and taught for 31 years in Edmond. And I have lived in Oklahoma my whole life, in Oklahoma City area. Grew up here, have 5 siblings, and so this is home. Always has been. My breast cancer journey started just before my 70th birthday. And I was, healthy and feeling great and excited really about my 70th birthday. And I had my cataracts done and hearing aids. And I thought, okay, bring it on, 70, I'm ready. And then a month after my birthday, I went in for my regular mammogram, and they called me back and said, we need to do a ultrasound, which I'd had before, didn't think that much about it. And then they called and said, we need to do a biopsy.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just kind of panicked and thought, oh, this is not good.
That's not good info, right?
No, it's not. And so I went in for the biopsy, and they biopsied not only my breast, but also under my arm. Lymph nodes. They already saw spots on my lymph nodes. So anyway, then you wait that 48-hour when you're waiting for them to call and tell you. And I knew what to expect, really, but you're always hoping that you're not going to hear the words you have cancer. So
Right. Now, was there any breast cancer in your family?
not any,
No.
not any kind of cancer in my
Oh,
family.
okay.
And
So totally out of left field.
Totally.
Okay.
And I always thought, oh, I'll never get cancer because there's not any cancer in my family. But it can happen to anybody. That's not one of
Get
those
your
things.
mammograms.
Get your mammograms, which I tell everybody all the time. And I have 3 sisters, and so, I told them, and they've had their mammograms, and they're really watching them very closely because one of my sisters actually was diagnosed a year after I was.
Wow.
But hers was very early stage. Mine was not. So after I had an MRI and a PET scan, I was stage 3B, invasive lobular carcinoma. And, at the time I had no idea what any of that meant, but I've learned, since all kinds of things about cancer. But
Whole new language to
whole
learn,
new
right?
language. And yeah, if those of you out there just being diagnosed, it's so confusing. But that's one of the things that Project 31 can help you with, is navigating all that language, because it's very confusing and
It
frightening.
is.
You hear it and you think, am I supposed to remember this? What do I need to remember? What do I need to do? So I had to have chemo. Well, first I had surgery, had a mastectomy.
Just a single.
Single mastectomy, yep. And then they had to take 15 lymph nodes, 10 of which were positive for cancer.
Yeah.
And I had chemo. I told them as soon as I went in to see my surgeon, not my surgeon, my oncologist, I said, I want you to treat this as aggressively as you can. Those were my words, and that was advice from a friend who's like a 20-year survivor. So they did, and I had chemo, 8 rounds, which is 16 weeks, had it every 2 weeks. And it's not pleasant, but you get through it, it's survivable. Losing your hair is not fun.
Not fun.
But
None
it
of it's
grows,
fun.
No, none of it's fun. But it grows back. You can get through it all. So I finished my chemo, and then about a month later, they always give you a month to rest, and then I started radiation. I had 35 treatments every day. It's every day of the week, Monday through Friday anyway. And I did get very, very sunburned, but it's like a bad sunburn. Again,
Yeah, you're uncomfortable.
yeah, uncomfortable, but it heals pretty quick. So then after that, it was just a matter of adjusting to having that behind me and just regaining my strength, because it really does take a toll on your body. And sometimes you don't even realize it till you're kind of back to normal. You think, oh my goodness, my body was a mess. But I was told about Project 31 through my oncologist. She told me about it, but she also had brochures, and I thought, okay, when I first heard about it and saw the brochure, I thought, I'll just kind of hang on to that for a while.
Sure.
And
I may not need that, right?
I may not need that. I don't really want to talk in a group of, about all this.
No. Who
And
does?
besides, I looked horrible. I was about the color of this wall. And but then as soon as I finished my chemo, I decided I was going to go try it out. And this was before I started radiation. And I knew as soon as everybody shared around the table, and I thought, okay, I'm definitely in the right place.
Wow.
It was marvelous. It just touched my soul, and thought, I'm among friends
I found my
here.
people.
I found my people. They've all been this color.
Right.
But every time you say something, you see everybody's head nod, because
Oh,
they know
yeah.
exactly what you're talking about.
And they don't have to have the same diagnosis as you.
No.
They
no.
could be stage 1. We've had stage 0 people
Oh,
come to
yeah.
support group.
Yeah.
We've had everything in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
And some people many years ago, some people currently being treated.
Yeah.
It's just a sisterhood.
It is a sisterhood. As you say, it's a sorority. None of us want to
We
be
don't
in,
want to
really.
join. Don't want to join it, but
I
here
am
we are.
so grateful to my Lord that it's there, because it's just been such a blessing to my life.
I'm so glad. We know you've been a blessing to us. So what made you want to be part of the leadership team? I know you started in sort of an unconventional manner to be on our leadership team. We kind of roped her in through the back door. It was good.
Well, I decided, whatever Project 31 offered, I was going to be there for it. So when Sarah said she was going to have Staring Cancer in the Faith at Crossings, where I go to church,
Yeah.
at Crossings, and so I said, I'll be there for that. And it was an 8-week class of Staring Cancer in the Faith, and it was three leaders, two with two others besides Sarah, and I loved it so much. It's just, it brings in your faith and how to trust God through all this journey.
Right.
And so I really loved it. And at the end of it, Sarah said, we'd really like for you to be a part of our leadership team if you're interested at all, and maybe take over doing this. And I went, yes.
Perfect.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
And then the wonderful thing is that I had been praying ever since I retired from teaching. I knew teaching was my calling for all those years. But once I retired, I thought, okay, Lord, where do you want me now? Where can I serve now? And I did a class at Crossings called the Apprentice, and it's how to be an apprentice of Jesus. And it really explores. It's a 1.5-year program.
Oh my.
And it's every week. And you go through 3 different books, and you examine what your gifts are and where God can use you and how he can use you. And I just really felt called to minister to young women.
Oh wow.
And that was long before I was...
But you didn't know how.
I didn't really know how. I didn't know exactly where, but I just trusted him to let me know. So when Sarah said that, I went, yes, oh, thank you, Lord, this is where I'm supposed to be.
God's so faithful. I love it that he can take the worst thing, one of the worst things that's probably ever happened in your life and make a ministry out of it,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
It's crazy, really, when you think about it.
To me, it's a miracle in my life. It's just like, wow. I mean, God's working in your life.
Yeah.
I mean, that was true all through cancer, but then the follow-up.
Right, to see those puzzle pieces kind of fit in finally, and you kind of go, oh, there's the picture. Now I see it.
Oh, that's exactly what it's
Yeah,
like.
yeah. Because none of us want cancer.
No.
None of us want any kind of serious illness ever. We don't want that for our families. We don't want it for anybody. But I'm so thankful there were women ahead of me that You know, the first time I met somebody with my same diagnosis that was 20 years out, I mean, I just glommed on her. I was like, tell me everything. I want to know everything. Because I was still worried that I wasn't going to make it. You know, I was still worried that my diagnosis was, that I was going to be on this statistical curve that I didn't want to be on, you know.
Yeah.
And
we all feel that way, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, is it going to come back? When's it going to come back? But I always tell myself, you weren't doing anything when you were diagnosed the first time. You know, you were doing everything you were supposed to do. Never missed a mammogram. Did self-exams all the time. But lobular is much harder to detect.
Right.
So it was like, and I was kind of angry at first. I thought, why didn't somebody find this sooner? But I know.
Now you know.
Yeah.
Now you
I
understand.
know. Now I understand that.
Well, and it doesn't do any good to be mad. Now
No,
you
it
just,
doesn't.
I mean, you know, it's just kind of wasted energy, right?
It is. You know, life is too short to, you know, have regrets and blame somebody, because you can't blame anybody for cancer. There is no explanation.
No, not at all. So you mentioned Staring Cancer in the Faith. That's a little different than our regular support groups. So our regular support groups, although we are a faith-based organization, it's not necessarily that our support groups are Bible studies. They're not really. They're quite different from Staring Cancer in the Faith. But Staring Cancer in the Faith examines what does cancer kind of do to our trust in God. And for me, that was huge. That's why we wrote it, because that was the crack in my life. When I got cancer, I was like, oh, do I even believe in God anymore? Do I even trust him through this? I'm not sure I did, you know. So that's what Staring Cancer in the Faith, and we talk about things like depression and anxiety and all, you know, all the common things. And like Sally said, we kind of, Crossings does it in an 8-week format. There are 12 lessons, but Crossings does it in an 8-week format. And it doesn't necessarily have to be breast cancer. It can be any cancer. But we do talk about body image. One of the lessons is on body image, because of losing your breasts can kind of, and losing your hair can kind of mess with your body image a little bit, a lot.
Putting on some weight because of
Steroids. Aren't they fun? Yeah, all the things. But we do Staring Cancer in the Faith online too. So if you ever want to join us, just go to our website and you can get all the information there. And if you want to host it at your local church, we would love to have you host it at your local church. It's a video curriculum, so you just turn on the video and then lead the discussion. So can anybody do it?
Anybody.
I think anybody can do it.
Can
You're
do it,
really good at it,
Oh,
but
thanks.
but I think anybody can do it. So, Sally, thanks for coming today and sharing
thank
your
you.
story.
I'm honored.
We love you.
We love you.
We
too.
love you a lot.
Love you
So,
back.
Thanks so much.